Hello, my name is Maurie, and I'm here with my husband, Jim. Welcome to AI in Action. This is Sunday evening, and we are here talking about artificial intelligence.
Second Sunday in a row. Just want to make note of that.
We hit Sunday evenings quite often.
I know. We're doing great again. We're getting back to our Sunday evening.
We're about to go into our third year of doing this podcast.
It's a lot of podcasts for us.
It is. I mean, we have been very consistent about talking about artificial intelligence, and we have talked about educational AI. We've talked about health AI. I mean, we hit all the different industries, which is great. The main thing that we do is we sit down and we talk about this so that you have the opportunity to tell me everything that you have learned for the week.
Yeah. And so
you're the sponge and then you just tell me all of it.
So I don't sit in that chair, that rocking chair in our bedroom.
So I have someone, I'm really excited. I have somebody who I've hired to kind of help me a little bit with some of the content that I'm putting out there. And she actually wants me to send her a picture of you sitting in the rocking chair in our bedroom.
I'm never sitting in that chair again.
It's kind of a little creepy. She's like, it's actually pretty funny because yes, you do. You come in there so early and you will sit in the rocking chair in the corner and
you're awake first. You're awake sort of.
Because you wake me up.
No.
But here we go. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about for this podcast. I am going to title this podcast AI in Action, the snake oil episode.
Okay.
Why do you ask if we're doing it about snake oil?
Because of Steve.
It's because of Steve. So Jim was watching a YouTube interview the other day about a book. And one of the comments that was made underneath the interview was from a guy named Steve.
Retired software engineer. I kind of felt a connection with what he was saying. So I'll let you read what Steve said.
Steve, B.Y., could not figure out exactly who he was on YouTube. But he says concerning this interview with an author, hype and impressive capabilities are not mutually exclusive. I don't think I'd characterize AI as snake oil. AI is already capable of extremely impressive output. I mean, come on. AI has already won a Nobel Prize, chemistry protein folding, for doing something it would have taken humans around 1 billion years to complete with previous methods. If you aren't impressed by that, I don't know what to say. Image and language generation, universal translation, image recognition, all of these things are incredible compared to what we had before. All of this can be true while also claiming correctly that AI capabilities are being overhyped, at least in the near future. Steve had a pretty strong opinion, and I did not see the interview, but I can tell that Steve is basically saying it's not snake oil, that it's already done enough that you should be impressed with what it's capable of doing. It's not perfect.
No, and you and I talk about this a lot. We talk about the fact that when you look at how we interact with technology, the user interfaces are terrible. I mean, the phone, the little tiny screens, the computers we have to find a spot to be at.
God forbid I'm on a touchpad on a computer. I hate the little touchpads.
Anyway, the book is called AI Snake Oil, What Artificial Intelligence Can Do, What It Can't, and How to Tell the Difference. I like the title. I like the premise, when you read the summary of the book. What I didn't like was the interview seemed very heavily skewed toward the snake oil.
That gets clicks.
I know that gets clicks, but I liked where the author, I don't know if the author was doing this or the person doing the interview or both. I get why they do it. I just think it's unfortunate because this particular individual supposedly has a lot of credibility in the AI world. Maybe he's done a lot of research or something. It's just a few days ago. It just hit me wrong. So I decided that we would talk a little bit about this because
you're definitely going to have to read the book now.
Yes,
you're going to have to download. You're going to have to read the book. I might read the book. I'm curious as to who the author is because I do read quite a few books on artificial intelligence. So I will go look it up. Let's talk about how some of the snake oil claims are real.
Right.
So there are some things that we will all agree really should not be done with AI.
You shouldn't be calling it AI. I mean, there's a difference between what it can do, what people say it can do. You and I have seen this. Everything that used to be called machine learning is now called AI. They're doing that because they're saying that it's marketing. Like you said, they're trying to make a claim about something that, you could argue it uses neural nets, it uses machine learning, so does AI. So maybe you could claim it's AI. But really the definition everybody understands is not what a lot of people are doing. This particular company is actually under investigation
by the Federal Trade Commission, or
Yes.
FTC. This is in govtech.biz, which seems to be very legitimate. Just came out December the 3rd. They're basically accusing this company of making false claims about its tools, which are used in schools
Yes.
and by public transit. The company is denying any wrongdoing,
Of
but
course they are.
some of their clients are canceling their contracts. Basically, it's saying that, they have gunshot detection, and they can do recognition of guns and recognition of faces. They sell security screening systems.
Oh, hold on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But mainly what bothers me about it is it appears they're claiming they can use AI to detect weapons that you couldn't detect without AI. And the reason that bothers me so much is, we had the Uvalde shooting here in Texas. Jared and I, my youngest, spent a lot of time, and we spent a lot of time talking about what technology could do with that. And I was thinking the same kind of idea, these scanners that could detect weapons, they could ignore things that weren't weapons. And while we were talking, I said, yeah, I could detect whether or not you had a gun or whatever. And Jared goes, what if you just put a towel over it? Because I was thinking, you point the gun, it could see the gun, it'd recognize the gun, it would do the point he was making was
there's always ways around it.
It's not just that there's ways, there's not even hard ways.
Right.
I mean, if the way was complex, but if you look at what airports do, and they still lose the battle, they have metal detectors, they've got security guards, they got people, x-ray machines, all that stuff.
And guns to get through.
And so this company failed in several instances to detect weapons in schools while flagging harmless personal items like laptops, binders, water bottles. Again, same problem. What do they make you do in an airport? You got to pour out the water bottle, that kind of thing.
They've also, like in 2022, there was a knife that was missed by the scanners that was then used in a stabbing. Yeah.
They're making claims and they're using AI as a way of sounding more legit. That is snake oil.
Correct.
If that's what they're doing, and this now, whether or not this new person in charge of the FTC is actually going to let the FTC continue on with this investigation is another discussion.
Now let's talk about it's really in the news, and
you can't miss this one.
You cannot miss this one. It's about the United Healthcare CEO, and
he got murdered.
He got assassinated
in New York, and people are just being so nasty.
Which is really sad.
It's a sad testimonial. I'm not arguing that I don't like insurance companies either, and they've done some stuff to us. I don't disagree with it, but celebrating someone getting assassinated just seems, I don't know, just off, especially in New York City. The problem with AI, bring this back to AI, is there was a story which I haven't been able to completely confirm, but there was a story about how they were using an AI tool specifically to deny claims. Now, I don't know, you were in healthcare medical billing specifically. You had a medical billing company, so you know a lot more about it than I do. But I don't see a case where no matter what the tool is, AI or otherwise, the goal of that tool very rarely is to make sure you filled out the form right so they can help you fill it out.
No, they're always looking for reasons to deny. And it's been happening for a
long time.
A very, very, very long time. This is absolutely nothing new. When I worked in a medical office and had a medical billing company, you were constantly having to make sure you had the right codes, the right diagnosis codes, the right amount of time that the doctor's allowed to spend with a patient based on that diagnosis. There were so many things that you had to do to make sure that you got reimbursed from the insurance companies.
And what happens if you filled out anything wrong?
Anything, it got denied and got kicked back, and then you had to fill it out again. I mean, medical offices have people that are on staff that's all they do.
Some of them, you had a few that outsourced to you, which is why you did it, was because they were outsourcing the billing, something I don't think you'd ever want to get back into again. Well, again, if your goal from day one is to deny, the thing that bothers most people about this particular article isn't just that they use the tool, it's this sentence here.
The suit claims that the company, which the company is the insurance company, knew that the AI model that they were using to the claims that were being presented actually had a 90% error rate.
That's ridiculous.
And they are known for denying claims. United Healthcare is known for denying claims.
I think they're
so they were
they're the highest in the nation. Of course, they're one of the biggest in the nation too. But I think their denial rate is like 32% or something.
Higher than other ones.
It's all higher than all the other ones.
10%.
In 2022, it jumped from 10.9% to 22.7%.
In 2 years.
In 2 years. So the fact is AI, as we currently know, which is the generative AI, the training methodology we use with generative AI, that didn't make them start denying claims. You dealt with this. It's been a long time since you had your own billing company, and you dealt with this exact same problem. So AI did not do anything other than give them another tool to do what they wanted to do in the first place.
Right. So it was the human.
Deny.
It was the human that was utilizing the tool when they should not have been utilizing the tool.
Well, in this case,
causing the problem.
There should have been a human involved in this.
The one who made the decision to allow the AI free reign to deny.
That's correct, especially when people's life depends on it. I mean, we've got a long history of disliking. Somebody made a comment on this assassination thing that there's like 14 or 15 million people that are suspects in this assassination that all hate the company. That's sad. That's awful.
It's very difficult when you are I talked about this to our pharmacists the other day. When you are on a fixed income and you get put on a medication, if you cannot get your insurance company to help you pay for that medication, then many times you go into the local pharmacy and you have to pick whether or not you're going to have your medication or whether or not you're going to have your groceries.
I know.
And it happens all the time.
What I want is for AI to improve our medical. And that means that you don't kick the humans out of the loop. It just means that AI can help you do your job better, assuming to me, it's about intention. If your intention is to use it as a tool to help things get better, then you can do that. But if your intention is to put profits over people, in this case, then it's going to do exactly that.
How many million was the CEO paid in a year?
Yeah, not only that, but the whole executive staff of United Health sold like $100 million worth of their stock right before a problem hit where they were getting investigated or something, and I think they had a ransomware attack or something, and all this was going on, and they like 2 weeks before it was announced, they sold all their stock. These people are not doing what they should do. Insurance companies are in business to make money, no argument. But that doesn't mean they have to sacrifice every human that does business with them. And using AI that way.
That's the snake oil. Let's talk about the good things then. Snake oil is a really old saying. So let's use another old saying, which is throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
That being a bad thing.
Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's talk about some of the other things right now.
Stuff that it can do. I put the first one in there, which was 11 Labs conversational AI. The reason I put that in there is 11 Labs is amazing. It is an amazing tool. Almost every cool sounding AI agent or things you hear about, avatars, all that stuff, most of them come from these guys.
It's really getting difficult to tell when a chatbot or an AI answers the phone on the other side. And it is very conversational. I was on a call with a large computer company on a support call, and I'm typing in chatting, not physically listening. And after a while, I'm like, I don't understand. So I actually picked up the phone and called someone, and the person I was talking to told me, oh, well, you've never actually chatted with a human. That's all been AI that I've been chatting with.
Let's not go, that sounds negative. We weren't supposed to go more negative.
It was helpful. I mean, it got me a lot further than just, having to stay on hold forever.
The reason I put this in there for very specific, very personal reason, as you well know, because I talk about it a lot. When I was, I don't know, in my early, you and I think we're married by then. I was in my early 20s, and my aunt got throat cancer because she smoked, and she got throat cancer, and they had to take, her voice, I guess I call it her voice box. I don't know what exactly the term is, but they had to take that. So she couldn't talk. I spent hours and hours and hours working, trying to find a tool to give her voice back in a way that sounded, and by the time I finally found something at that time that seemed like it was going to work well, she passed away. Yes. This tool would have given my aunt her voice back. And we could have tuned the voice to sound like anything she wanted, and it sounded so human that it would have been better for her. So, use number one, 11 Labs conversational AI, which can be used for good and bad. But in the case of this, it would have been a really great thing.
So this is also a government technology.
It's another government technology.
How AI could help victims of domestic violence and other crimes. So with more than 10 million people physically abused by an intimate partner each year, that's statistics talking, domestic violence, they're saying that artificial intelligence can help. How?
Well, mainly when you start talking about stuff like this, it's more about generally, and I don't know exactly how they're doing in all this, but generally it's about keeping track of all the information, helping them get the services they need. Most of these government entities, which is what I think they should be for, they should be about getting you to the services you need. And not just, in this case, they talk about opportunity for police to respond to information more readily, to get the support. So it's all about finding all of that stuff they need. AI can help a lot with that. And yes, there are some downside risks, but right now, they're so overburdened, these systems typically are for domestic abuse, especially. People get lost in the system. And so I think this kind of tool could really help them with finding the stuff they need in a timely and being consultative. I mean, you've seen some of those, like when we used to play around with Pi, which was one that was made to be more like a counselor. I'm not saying AI should replace counselors, but if you've got 100,000 people needing services or 10,000 or whatever the number is, and you don't have but 5-10 people, somebody's going to get lost in the shuffle.
Absolutely. Fall through the cracks. They're going to fall through the cracks.
Yes.
So basically what this is looking like is it's like a 3-way conversation with victims and survivors. And it's actually an AI that is almost like something you have a conversation with. You can have it in a language. You can ask questions,
get the services,
get all the services.
Yes.
It tells you how to find help. It says right now there's 70,000 users of it. It's free. It's a chat function. It sounds like what it's doing, it's allowing people to like find help and not be concerned about who they're asking for help.
Well, and as you just said, which I hadn't really thought about, but it can do it in 100 languages, conversational AI in 100 languages.
There's a lot of language barriers when it comes to domestic violence.
Language barriers are one of the biggest or a large cause I've heard of women that don't get help because they don't have the language skills. They're not native to the country. They don't know where to go. Anyway, so
that's another positive.
It's another positive use for it.
Also, there's an article we've talked about
the same veins.
For police field reports. I know that our son is a paramedic and he talks a lot about just the sheer amount of paperwork that he's having to do every single time he goes on a call. I don't know and I don't believe that they have instigated or put in any AI help for them.
Not for them.
But I could see it coming in the future for it to help them some with just the general. You don't need to put a patient name in to be able to say where the incident took place or where you transported somebody to or something like that.
So. I don't know when it comes to like EMTs or police reports, the biggest concern or the biggest fear that people are going to have of that is if I use this tool and it makes a mistake, who's held responsible? Well, humans make mistakes all the time. So, and I suspect the same people are going to be held responsible. The thing about AI is you can continue to tune it and make it better and better. You can with humans too. But humans have good days, they have bad days.
It also
they move around, they get into new positions. AI could be more consistent over time.
It might take a little longer to tune a human.
Yeah.
Depending upon their enthusiasm for the subject.
Filling out paperwork is not something people typically have enthusiasm for.
That is correct. So
the last one that I brought up had to do, because we always lean toward education. And this was a discussion with the New York State School Boards Association. And they were talking about, the keynote speech was talking about AI in general in schools. Now, when you read the article or at the beginning of the article, you start thinking, okay, this sounds like someone who's terrified of AI. But in reality, they're not. That's not actually the point of the article. The point of the article is you can ban it, you can do what you want to with it, but it's not going away.
So I'm sitting here looking at this. Dan Fitzpatrick he and I are connected on LinkedIn, and we've actually been on several talks together. And he's saying that he actually posted about being at this convention. If we were to stop using AI tomorrow, if there was a ban, it's done. We're done. That's it. It's going to take 20 years to unpack it.
By unpack it, I think he means get rid of it.
To get rid of it, to go back, because
yes,
it's
everything
so
already
integrated into
Yes.
everything that there's no way we can go back. So he talks about how we need to embrace it. We need to approach it with intent.
That's the sentence I used earlier too. That the intention that you put on any tool that you're going to use, no matter what it is going to determine it is a tool. It's not going to do anything other than how you plan for it to do. My point with this article is that even if you're afraid of it, there's still a lot of possibilities as to how you can utilize this effectively.
Yes.
So it's a positive use for AI. It's not snake oil. You and I train teachers on how to use this stuff all the time.
Yes. So it is a solution, but it has to be thoughtful.
Well, if you're going to roll something out, it needs to be rolled out in a thoughtful way. Now, I'm heavily skewed toward education. So my point of this, as we're leading down to this, is the solution to all of this, the snake oil versus not, is thoughtful rollout in education.
Education
Both.
is the key.
Well, thoughtful rollout, because that you have to address the fear factor, you have to address all these other things. So one of the examples of what I thought was someone trying to be proactive and have a thoughtful rollout was Arizona's AI policy. They're evolving their policy at the government level. They're looking at how are we going to use this stuff? How are we going to pilot it? What is it going to be for? How are we going to use it effectively? Where are we not going to use it? That's my example of it seems like they're trying to do a thoughtful rollout.
Right.
Is it perfect? I don't think there is such thing as perfect.
No. The governor, they're creating what they call an AI steering committee, which is to help inform future AI deployment. One of the things that I'm constantly saying is you need to make sure you have somebody that's still in the trenches that are on some of these committees, because especially people who have not been in the trenches in education after COVID, because COVID did change the way education looks and feels today. So I think that's very important.
Well, and don't put all your political cronies on the committee. Like you said, put the people in the trenches, put the people that know what they're doing. The next one, education focused, was the Brunswick. This is in North Carolina.
Yes.
Again, it sounds scary when you read it, which is it.
Well, they're trying to get you to click on it. So it should scare everybody is what the headline is. Brunswick School Board debates future of AI in the classrooms.
But it's not wrong. It's not negative. As you said, it's a sort of a form of clickbait.
Yes, it is.
But they talk about the different guidelines, the fact that there are ethical, that thoughtful rollout thing. The message I got from this was, yes, it can be scary, but even more scary is doing nothing and letting it roll out on its own. You and I talk about this a lot. Viewed as a teachable moment. And that's that negative part. You can actually turn negatives to positive simply by using them as a teachable moment. That's one of the advantages of education. Ask it a question and evaluate the answer, because it can give what appears to be very thoughtful answers.
So I was in one of our AI Trailblazer classrooms last week, and they were doing a math puzzle that they had to take and put a certain sequence of numbers in, almost like a crossword puzzle type thing with the blocks. And that had to go to where no two numbers could touch, like the 1 can't touch the 2 can't touch the 3, and it was like a sequence of numbers. And I was like, oh, let's see how AI can do all this. And so I took my phone, I took a picture of it, and I asked it, and it just did not. I mean, it
doesn't do something
wrong. And so the kids and I had a really great time talking about it. Immediately, every single kid in that 5th grade math class was engaged. And we solved the problem by showing how the AI messed up. You know? And so we talked about those mistakes that it had made, and they thought that, I'm smarter than the AI, and they were like laughing about it. So
the funny thing about an AI, you won't hurt its feelings by telling it it's wrong.
Well, it definitely was a teachable moment. And every one of the kids, because when I first walked in, there were some of them that weren't engaged. There were some of them that was easy for. There were some that it was harder for them. And so we whole grouped it, and it was a lot of fun. But no, it was definitely a teachable moment, and
So
I liked it.
I think that you used exactly what this person was talking about, this Brunswick, North Carolina headline, that you can not only have these teachable moments because you've got these gotcha moments, as you were just talking about, but also they address the fact that you have to rethink what it means to plagiarize and to cheat.
Well, that's the whole thing. Cheating, cheating, cheating. It's all I ever hear about. Every time I'm at a high school, especially, they're only using it to cheat. They're only using it to cheat. Well, they're not using it to cheat. They're using it as a tool to get an answer because what they're being asked to answer is mundane or boring or not engaging.
Or they just don't want to do it.
They just don't
whatever
want
their
to
reason
do it.
is, they're not engaged. Now, one of those things we talk about at a national level, they're having trouble with in education. Is
Engagement.
engagement. What you did by putting that on the letting the AI be wrong and correcting it
Mhm.
was get them engaged. That engagement piece is important. Rethinking plagiarism, rethinking cheating has a lot to do with changing our focus on gotcha to teachable moment, which
Correct.
is the point of this particular school board association discussion.
Yes,
So, anyway,
I agree. I agree.
So the last part was, and I kind of wanted you to think about this because I know we like to think we're the only country in the world,
Really?
but we're really not. There are others.
Are there?
There are. One of them is China. So I thought you'd find this headline interesting. If we're going to, my point of this particular one is if your solution is to not use AI
Yes.
because you think it's snake oil and you've got people that are experts saying it's snake oil, you
You're going to
better
get behind.
think carefully because if you're, well, maybe you're right. Maybe AI is all snake oil and it's all going to go away. Read another article today from a guy saying we're one step away from AI disappearing forever. It's going to happen. He's trying to get clicks. It was a Medium article. But my point was, if you believe that's true, you better be right. Because if you're not right and you ignore it, guess what? This headline says somebody else is not.
China to strengthen AI education in primary and secondary schools. So the Chinese Ministry of Education issued a notice to strengthen AI education in primary and secondary schools. It specifies that younger primary school children, primary, we're talking K through 5. If you're in the US, K through 5 is primary. They should focus on exploring and experiencing AI technology, while older primary school children and middle school students should concentrate on understanding and applying AI concepts, and a high school student should engage in project creation and advanced AI applications.
So back to my point, you better be right. If you think that this is snake oil and you're going to convince everyone else it is, and in doing so, delay us using it in our educational system, and you're wrong, then you just helped another country that's very interested in this get ahead of us.
Yes.
By a lot.
It also emphasizes prioritizing teacher training by integrating AI education into national development plans to enhance professional capabilities. And on that note, with just a second to go, don't forget that that's something we do. We train districts on how they can use artificial intelligence.
Shameless plug.
Shameless
we are
plug.
Definitely interested in coming in and helping you understand the value add, talking about our Trailblazer program. We've learned a lot from it. We continue to learn a lot from it. We're adding more teachers. We're adding more technology. The latest incarnation of Agnes just got brought to life yesterday or the day before. And so we're refining what Agnes means and how we're going to use it in our school. And we're refining it based on the feedback we're getting from teachers.
We're in it for the long haul. So my name is Maurie, and I'm here with my husband, Jim. And we really appreciate you guys listening to AI in Action, our snake oil episode. And we hope that y'all have a marvelous rest of the week.